wines. I think they'll be good, especially the Sauvignon Blanc on a nice day like today. What do you think, Sandra?
Tastes like spring.
Tastes like spring.
I can't wait to try it.
as the winemaker, I know everything that went into a bottle and everything that went into this particular bottle, and I'm pretty proud of what we did in 2017. The sense of place of Howell Mountain and where our vineyards are grown, where our grapes are grown, really comes out in the glass. With a backbone of Cabernet Sauvignon, the estate also has Merlot, Malbec, and Petit Verdot, which bring in a level of complexity to the overall blend. Howell Mountain has more red fruit flavors, has more structure, has more intensity to it. But when you taste that in the glass, I think it allows some longevity in the bottle, but it also just makes for a really spectacular glass of wine. I'm really happy with the resulting wines because we worked really hard to make them what they are. This is the 2017 CADE Estate Howell Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon.
We just caught a glimpse of the stunning CADE Estate featuring the talented Miss Danielle Cyrot. And we are also featuring the 2017 CADE Estate Cabernet Sauvignon today. This is what we're going to be tasting. We've got in our glasses. So welcome, everyone. My name is Suzanne Phifer-Pavitt, and I am the proprietor and founder of the Phifer-Pavitt Winery. And I, along with my co-host and my esteemed colleagues, are going to be joining you today to talk about women in wine and wine in general. So ladies, let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, everyone. I am Marla Bedrosian with Domaine de la Riviere Wines.
Oh, and I'm Hilary Newsom, and I am co-president and partner of PlumpJack.
I'm Danielle Cyrot. I'm the winemaker for CADE Estate Winery.
And my name's Sandra Roberts. I'm Director of Sales for CADE, PlumpJack, and Odette Estate Wineries.
Today's panel is going to be presented by Wine Country Women. And before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, we want to let you all know that we're all vaccinated and very excited about that. So we are doing our part. So just 1 second, and we're going to tell you about the paid promotional announcement, if you will, of Wine Country Women. And then we're going to get started on our question panel.
Yes, as my co-host over here just said, today's panel is presented by Wine Country Women. Wine Country Women delivers authentic wine country experiences by connecting people with the women who work and live in the area through lifestyle books, curating events, podcast interviews, and more. It is a unique lifestyle and entertainment brand that gives people insiders access. Yippee. It's exciting.
Fabulous. And the book is gorgeous.
Yes.
It is fabulous.
And we actually have one of the books sitting right in front of us.
If you want to know more about our stories, about our recipes and our pairings, you may also look to some of the trailblazers that are included in the book, along with industry leaders and luminaries in the Napa Valley and the Sonoma County. Visit the winecountrywomen.com website and purchase some of those lifestyle books. It's a great introduction to the area and women who call it home. So,
And I also have a fabulous chopped salad recipe in there. They made it look much better than it's ever looked on my plate. It's quite delicious. It's the only trick in the box.
I love it. I love it. All right, so let's get started. We're delighted to have you all join us, and I'm going to hand it over to Marla to start with our first question. So,
Okay, great. Thank you, Suzanne. So this question is actually for all three women, but of course, any of you can answer. I'm kind of focused on Sandra for this one myself. In my previous hospitality career, I led a global sales team and was on the road for many, many days a month in an effort to be face-to-face with my customers. Now owning a small boutique winery, we have a more of a concierge approach in all of our sales. And I am just curious, how do you find the balance in both your personal and your professional life with such a hectic travel schedule and such a demanding role within your organization?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'm still working on the answer, but as you know, this business is so social. And I've had some customers that I call on for more than 20, 25 years. They're really become my friends. So it really blurs these two things in my business, professional and personal. It's hard to discern a big difference. I think the biggest thing I'm working on is finding balance within, so that when things are frenetic and crazy out there, it doesn't matter if I can maintain my sense of quiet, which I'm still working on. I want to highlight that. It doesn't come easy, but that's really the goal.
That's great. I would love to hear Hilary's answer to that question as well.
Well, it's interesting because sort of my consumer, if you will, is the PlumpJack employees. And so we have 14 businesses and 400 employees in a perfect non-pandemic world. And I'm in the car quite a bit. In fact, I usually go over my lease miles by about triple. And so I definitely get insurance. And for me, the quiet in between is the books on tape, maybe strategically telling people that I'm out of cell range so that I can really, when I arrive to the location, be really present, engaged and enthusiastic about all the team members that we have and supporting them in the best way that I can. But I love it. I love it.
Great. It is definitely a busy lifestyle. And Danielle, you have to answer this question as the woman winemaker in the room.
Yeah, well, I think you wear many hats as a winemaker. You're out in the vineyard in the morning, and then you're crushing grapes and you're making wine, and then you're working crazy hours, and it's 7 days a week, 10-hour days for 3 months. And what I would say is that I don't do it alone, and I have a really amazing team that helps me get all of that done. And so that we can all go home to our families and relax in a reasonable amount of time. And I've learned over the years to focus on the things that matter, that you can't always sweat all the small stuff and get too caught up in the details of it. Really just focus on the things that matter, that are important to this, and you'll be successful. So.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm actually going to have Suzanne ask the next question. My co-host.
There's so many great questions. We have so much to talk about in so little time. Ready? All right. The next question I think would be best for conversation is, what kind of advice do you have, you, the collective as the panel, for other women who are pursuing careers, both in winemaking, but in the wine industry in general? I mean, there are so many facets that we all play just here today within the wine industry. And what kind of advice would you give some of our younger peers and women trying to come into the industry?
You start, Sandra. I mean, be excellent. I think it's the same advice I would give young men. In this instance, women are getting more and more opportunities, I think, than ever before, certainly than when I started in the business. And be excellent, regardless of your gender. Do what you say you're going to do, show up, and be great at it. And I think more now than ever, we are exposed to opportunities and people are noticing when we're great. How about you, Danielle?
I would say, if you want it, go get it.
Yeah.
I kind of went more of a traditional path, and then I went to UC Davis and I got my degree in viticulture and enology. So it's a very specific degree and it's specific to winemaking. You know, that's kind of what I know how to do. But I never stopped at that. And I just said, I want to be a winemaker and I want to live in Napa Valley. And I, you know, throughout my career made strategic kind of moves to get to this ultimate, you know, dream job at CADE. So, and I never felt that I couldn't do that, that there were barriers preventing me from doing that. So I just feel like if you want it, go get it. It's there for you to get it.
I would simply add, be confident. Just be confident, be excellent. These are tremendous. Go get it, but absolutely be confident.
I think those are all great answers. I just wanted to add a slight comment was my mom always said growing up, you can do anything or be anything. Yeah. And there was no gender associated for me. So oftentimes people ask when we have these kind of things, what made you think you could get into the industry? And my answer is very simple. No one told me I couldn't.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So regardless of gender, who you are, be excellent, be confident, and be focused. Great answers, ladies.
Okay, so as a female entrepreneur, I find myself at the end of every day justifying every minute that I did everything during the day and bullet pointing it out for my husband. So he could realize how busy I was and how accomplished I actually am. So with that, this question is for all three of these ladies, to my one person over to the left. So what is the most underappreciated characteristic you possess? Meaning, what are you all, that's for my friend Suzanne, what are you all doing behind the scenes that is invaluable, yet can go unnoticed?
Sandra, you start with that one.
We've got a nice flow going. Sandra. Why?
Well, I don't have to go home and bullet point to a husband. But I think the biggest thing for me in managing sales for Earth is being organized and being really well planned and making sure that, again, you cross the T's and dot the I's and have a good plan. And then knowing that if your plan messes up and everything goes haywire, it's probably going to be okay anyway. But I think that's the best approach for me behind the scenes. And the idea is to make it look easy, even if it isn't easy. And as long as my people know that it's getting done, and it may not be easy, but if we're making it look easy, that's really all I care about. Danielle knows I'm out working hard on the road to make sure her wine gets in people's glass. And that's really the point at the end of the day.
Yeah. For me, in a winemaking side, I would say patience, because winemaking is not a very fast-paced kind of thing. You have to wait for the growing season. You have to wait for the grapes to ripen. And then, you know, there's this whole barrel aging process, at least for red wines, of almost 2 years in the barrel before you get it in the bottle. And then it's another almost year before somebody gets to taste it. And to me, it's so you're like 3 years into it before anybody even tastes your creation. And so you have to be patient sometimes. And that also translates to working with people and being patient with them too, as well. So that was my kind of behind the scenes of attribute.
For me, I had to phone a friend. I caught wind of this question, and I phoned my best friend, Hilary because I wasn't quite sure, but she reminded me that one of the things that I think is important in my role is to be approachable and to be a bit self-deprecating.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most important things that matters to me. I don't think it's, you know, I think I exude confidence. You know, I've been here for 26 years. I've accomplished a lot and I'm grateful for all of that. But I think at the end of the day, being approachable and a little bit self-deprecating, I think is something that I value in me. And it's one of my strengths that I think is a little bit under the radar.
Very well done, ladies. Very well done.
Oh, okay. So I let truth be known. My husband actually came up with that question.
Oh.
And I gave him my bullet points. So thank you so much for answering that. That was great.
That's the best.
all of a sudden he's not.
Let's switch to a question that sometimes can be considered a little bit more controversial, how shall we say?
Do we need wine for this?
Yes.
We should all.
Cheers.
We should all
It's a
be.
controversy. We can
And
handle it.
For all of those of you joining us, hopefully you have some beautiful CADE wine in your glass and you're drinking along with us. And if you need permission to drink during the day, we have our permission.
Yes.
So please do that. How do you feel about the reference of female winemaker versus winemaker? Female actor, male actor, or just actor? So anyone want to jump in? Obviously, we're putting Danielle on the spot,
Yeah.
but I think we
No,
can
you
all
gotta take this
contribute to this.
So my first gut response is, well, I am a woman. And yes, I want you to know that. Because women are not the dominant winemakers in Napa Valley. There's still a lot of men winemakers. And so I think it's something that we should be talking about and celebrating as well. But, you know, I guess I feel like it's kind of obvious in a way too. It's like, I am a woman. I'm not, you know, but I am a winemaker too. And I'm proud of that. So I would never say, well, don't say that. But especially in some of the places that I've traveled to, did a trip a few years ago to the Southern Rhone in France. And of all of the places we visited, there was one property, Domaine Marcoux, that stood out, and it was run by two women sisters. And I had the honor of sitting next to them and having lunch and talking to them about kind of their journey. And, you know, they were like, we're the only ones in this region that are women. And I thought, no, that can't be. And they said, no, that we're the only ones. And when I thought about it, I went, oh, you know, I wish that was different. And I think it's something that we need to be talking about and encouraging women to be part of it. But it was really this property had been handed down and they were the only ones left, and they took it over as the family business, and they were the women of the family. So
I use it as a selling point that Danielle is a woman winemaker, especially with the wines on Hell Mountain, which has tended to be such a masculine, big, muscular AVA. I use it as a sense of here we have this talented woman that is bringing a sense of grace to these masculine wines. And I think it's a point of pride for me, certainly.
Well, I would agree. And I think we all sort of mentioned at some point, you know, we were raised with no distinction, as was I. My brother is exceedingly supportive of all the females around him. And ironically, it's a company that he built with mostly females leaders. And so from my perspective, I never heard that I couldn't. So I think but it is important for me because I have two teenagers and they're 16 and 17, and I want them to understand, you know, as did I, but now it's more evident when they can look to Danielle and to Sandra and to all these females that have accomplished so much, and myself as well. Yeah. And it's important for them to know that there's nothing in their way.
I mean, I agree. I think it's a beautiful thing to highlight it. Like you said, the palate, right? We've all talked about that the female palate, there are some characteristics that we have to that, a softer and bringing in approachability, but it's not a female versus male. It's just, let's celebrate and encourage more female winemakers and wine personalities to get in the business. So good answers, ladies.
So I would like to encourage everyone who is watching this and joining us and sipping their own CADE wine at home to send us some comments, send us some notes. So we have a great one from Kimberly Weinstock. And my co-host is smiling next to me. And she wants us to know that she is joining from Florida, and she is enjoying a beautiful 2018 CADE sitting outside with her fur babies. I miss my puppy so much right now, by the way. So, and you know, she made a great comment. She loves women lifting up women. And I think that's awesome. And that is what we should all be doing. And I feel like that's what we're all doing here today. But for those of you that are out there, please send in your comments. We'd love to hear them and really make you feel like you're a part of what we're doing here. So I'm gonna give this back to you.
All right. All right. So staying, obviously, we're Women's History Month, so a female panel. So we are talking all things kind of female and women. This is for all three ladies on the panel. Did you have women mentors in the wine industry, winemaking? I'm going to expand that in general because I don't think we need to restrict ourselves on that. Did you have female women wine mentors that you've looked to for guidance? And were there also men that you worked with who you felt were very supportive? Hilary just mentioned her brother. Were there other men that were supportive and were empowering to you as a female in whatever path you were taking in your career? Because we didn't all just jump straight into the wine industry. So the vein of our, yes.
Yes. I mean, starting from even before the industry, obviously my mother as well, and her best friend who told me, I didn't even realize women couldn't do things, honestly. But then starting in the wine industry, I remember 1993, I started and there were 3 women in the sales force. I worked at a distributor, but there was this rocket ship supplier named Christina Miller. And she taught me all sorts of things about wine, about selling wine, about wines that I had no idea about. I mean, she taught me so much. And she's still in the industry today. She's still a rocket ship and an amazing woman, but also Joy Sterling at Iron Horse. Such grace and such grit. And when you can balance grace and grit in the way that those 2 ladies do, and took me with them, wow, there is nothing but gratitude and love that I have for them. Yeah, so yes. And then as a follow-up, you know, there were a lot of men who saw something good in me and gave me a shot, and oftentimes gave me the first shot that any women in the organization had ever received. So thinking about the stretches that they made, I really take my hat off to people like Pete Hacker, who, you know, women didn't do things like this. And after, you know, I may have had to have 10 interviews versus 3 for the job, but he gave me the shot. And I'll be grateful for that too, forever.
You want to go, Hilary?
Oh,
Well, we got it out of order. Sorry.
I lost my mom when she was quite young. She was 57, but her work ethic was something that I admired greatly. And again, raising me, a single mom, and my brother, you know, really was empowering. But I have different mentors in different aspects of my life. So from a philanthropic standpoint, you know, a Doris Fisher or Yvonne San Giacomo were 2 women. You know, Doris was really embraced my enthusiasm for supporting cancer research and education, and was phenomenal at sort of, you know, teaching me the ropes. And Pam Priest-Nave, and there's so many names in that philanthropic bucket. And professionally, you know, I was really, you know, I have a professional mentor who's become a very close friend of mine, Joanna Reese. There's so many women that have been there for me. Gina DeVito, so many that looked at me and said, why not you? Why do you keep looking around the room for the solution? Why don't you look in the mirror? But equally supportive have been people, investors and friends, you know, Gordon Getty and Ann Getty and Joe Cachet and my husband, Jeff, so many people that have said, look in the mirror, you might have the right person. And so men and women, again, in different facets of my life. And even as a parent, I didn't have my mom before I had kids. So different mentors for different aspects of my life, equal female and male, that have really transformed my confidence as well as my, you know, success.
Awesome. Well, for me, my career started in 1999 with Treasury Wine Estates. And there were already 2 female lead winemakers within the group, Lori Hook and Margot Van Stavern. And so I really kind of was like, okay, this is this is great. I've got other women who are, in the lead role, and they were amazing at just kind of helping me navigate a larger company and being the small fish in a big pond kind of thing. And then Hilary, when I joined CADE, I obviously was like, here's Hilary, female president, amazing. And she's doing it. And so it was absolutely, when I was, kind of talking to everybody, interviewing for this job, and I thought, this is the company. This is where I want to be, because they're already supporting women at the top. So as far as men, my first boss at Stag's Leap Winery was Robert Britton. He was a winemaker, and he really gave me the confidence to trust my palate and believe in my winemaking abilities. And so, when you're tasked with, do I pick this grape? And is it the right time? Is it the right time to bring it in? And you don't want to screw it up, because that's it. That's the one shot you have at doing it. And so he kind of gave me that confidence of, yes, you have a good palate. People are going to like what you like. And so you should continue down this, That's kind of like the worst fear of a winemaker, somebody telling you, you could never make good wine. Nobody's ever going to drink that. So
I like the common theme, and that is to look inside. Your best mentor is right here. You're equipped with it. So we have to dig into that confidence and support each other in that. So beautiful, ladies.
So everyone here should have a lot of confidence, because my phone is starting to blow up.
Oh, wow.
I am having to pick through all these questions. So I want to say hey to Tim Heedy. He wants everyone to know that he is in Minnesota enjoying a bottle of the 2011 CADE Estate Howell Mountain Cab with the screw top, and it is delicious. And he has 3 exclamation points. So thank you so much for letting us know, Tim, that you are enjoying this with the wine you should be enjoying this with.
Yeah.
And then a question for to Danielle. What are you hoping to see for the future of winemaking, the next generation? And maybe it's the next generation of women, but what are you hoping to say?
Well, certainly I'd love to see more women winemakers in Napa Valley in the top role. When I went to UC Davis, I had a graduating class of 24 women. And 2 of us are still in the industry. The other 2 found other paths. But when I go back to Davis and I speak to the students, or just there for alumni events, it's really more 50-50 now. And so I'm very encouraged that, that is going to change over the next couple of years. And it's certainly changing in other parts of the country, in Oregon and Washington and, Napa Valley. We're maybe a little bit behind the times, but it's getting there. And so I think the more we encourage women to work side by side with us and be in the cellar and be in production and say, you can do this, you can do it just as well as anybody else, that's a good thing. So.
That's great. Thank you so much. So I would like to kind of put a little personal twist on this, if you guys don't mind. So I'm from New York. You can probably tell I try to hide my accent, but I'm happy to say I'm a full Californian now. So cheers to all of you guys. But I come from hospitality and working in hotels and resorts and food and beverage. And my husband and I started coming out here every year with our pilgrimages. And we started in Napa. And we loved it out here, and we tried all the different wines, and we loved the stories that the wines told us. And I had this incredible aha moment, and my husband shared it with me. And it was this time in 2010 when we were out here staying in Calistoga, and the concierge set up the most incredible wine tasting for us at CADE. And it was at CADE that we decided that we needed to plant our roots right here,
Oh,
right
wow.
now. And it was, these ladies did not know this until today, but it was that vacation that we immediately started to navigate and research finding a vineyard. And we did, and we bought our vineyard in Sonoma County. But so my question is to actually all three of you. That was my aha moment of how we got into the wine business. And it's so ironic that it's CADE. I have pictures of it. I'll share it with you. I was in the water. It was great. It was fantastic. So we've all had these moments, and I'd love for each one of you to share with us what moment was it for you that made you decide this was your calling, this is what you wanted to do?
I would love to start. May I go out of order?
Yes.
Okay. So I was in the fashion industry in New York, and I moved home. And my brother said to me, "Hey, do you want to come work for me at PlumpJack?" There was only a few businesses, 3 at the time. And I said, "Not really. I'm interested in going back into fashion. I've got some interviews set up for some great companies that are out here out west." And he said to me, "Just give me a few months." And I remember in that few months, I was sort of the marketing director. And in that few months, the general manager of the hotel in Squaw Valley resigned abruptly. And so I sort of planted myself there. And there was a woman at the front desk screaming at the staff at the top of her lungs because we didn't have a particular type of cotton ball. We only had traditional cotton balls, but not the flat ones where you could more easily remove makeup.
Just to clarify, she was a guest or she worked for the hotel?
She was a guest.
Okay, good.
Sorry, man, I should have clarified that. And this poor kid behind the front desk, and I was a kid at the time. I know it's hard to imagine that now, but I did mention I was 26 years here. And she was just beside herself. And I pulled her aside, and 30 minutes later, we were having an iced tea and a bunch of laughs at the bar. And I thought, that was my aha moment. I thought, oh my gosh, you can't take yourself too seriously. And if I could take that moment and turn it into something wonderful, that was my moment where I said, I love hospitality. And that was 26 years ago. And incidentally, at the very beginning, probably in the first 4 months, my nickname was Hurricane Hilary. So it's possible that I identified a little bit with this movie. And so I had lightened up and gotten a little more back into my California roots. And I've been here ever since. And every day is different. Every experience is different. Every moment for me is just a joy. So
Awesome. Want to go, Sandra?
Sure. Well, at first I couldn't believe someone would pay me to sell alcohol. It was a dream job from the beginning. And then about, I don't know, 8 or 9 months later, I read Kevin Zraeli's book, Windows on the World, and it really spoke to place. And I got so interested in the geography, the geology, and how that affected wine. So after selling wine for about a year, I said, well, maybe I ought to go visit Napa and Sonoma, see what's up out there. Drove into Sonoma. We were staying at a guest house there in Russian River. And I remember waking up in the morning and I was freezing to death. And then we had an appointment in Dry Creek Valley. And on the drive, which was about 30 minutes, I had to remove several layers of clothes. And I couldn't believe the microclimates. Because I grew up in Mississippi where it got hot in February and cooled off about December 15th. And then spent a lot of time in South Florida where the same thing happened. So I couldn't believe the geology, the microclimates, the effect of place. And after that trip, I think I was 23 or 4, I said, I'll live here. I'll live here one day. And what a fortuitous place to wind up, where here at PlumpJack, CADE, and Odette, we are solely focused on place. It is our passion lifting these places up. So I think I just got real lucky.
we got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually at Davis, and we would do, after classes, we would do tastings as a group of students. And for this one tasting, one of the students had put together a blind tasting of top growth, first growth Bordeaux's 1976 vintage that his father had collected and given to him to taste with all of the students. And he threw in a ringer in the tasting of all these first growth Bordeaux's. And I didn't know that until we started revealing them, but, you know, kind of went through and tasted them and had great notes and was like, wow, these wines are so amazing. But I got to this one glass and I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? This is so amazing. It just blew my mind. The bouquet was amazing. There was so much fruit. There was so much texture. And it was just like, how could this wine be so amazing 20 years in the bottle? And when it was revealed, it was a Heights Martha's Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon from 1976. And I was like, if Napa Valley can make that, I got to be in Napa Valley. So that was it. That was the wine that just solidified me going into winemaking and being in Napa Valley.
I just want to add something else that Hilary and I share in common. And that is, I was known at the Plaza Hotel as Hurricane Marla. By the time I had run, no, it was to my face.
Someone else said, you certainly are that. And I said, what is it?
Between New York and California.
Exactly. When I got to California, I was told, you need to take it a few notches down. And so
Light breeze.
It's amazing, but you actually do. You know, I mean, look at this beautiful nature around us and the mustard and in between the vines. It's absolutely exquisite here. So I am going to turn this back over to Suzanne. I start getting emotional.
So we all wear a lot of hats. Females, I think, wear more hats. Maybe, right? We're mothers, sisters.
Sorry, honey.
We're presidents, we're CEOs, we're winemakers. We've got our furry babies. We've got our living through raising teenagers, you know, all kinds of things. We're incredibly passionate. We're hardworking. I personally aspire to, it is my life's work to combine Southern grace and grit. That is, that we're going to get along fabulously on that one. So we do all these things and we live in this amazing place that most people want to be. But it's at the end of the day, we need to decompress. And although everyone, we love our audience and our clients and drinking wine and we love what we do. But the question is, what do you do non-wine related? So I'm going to remove, I've got a little more difficult here as we've progressed. We're going to remove the
Your
have.
husband picked this one?
No.
These are the tough ones.
We're going to remove the I have a glass of wine and I put up my feet. So we're just going to take that one because we all do that. Okay, that's a given. So we're professionals here. So what do you do at the end of the day or at the end of the week, perhaps? Maybe it's not during the week, at the end of the week to just decompress. Silly, it doesn't need to be a self-help book. Or, let's be real for our audience. What do you do? We're not competing. We're sharing.
My geography.
We're going to go with Hilary first.
Okay, I wasn't going to tell the truth. I really wasn't going to tell the truth.
Hilary.
Tell the truth. I've got to tell the truth. I watch Family Feud. Okay. Not only do I watch Family Feud, I want to be on Family Feud. And it's going to be the women of PlumpJack.
Oh, I love it.
Against whoever we're here. Call me, Steve Harvey. I'm ready for you. My daughter said, or you could all say that you get on the hammock and read a book. I'm a big PG Woodhouse fan and I have the whole collection. But since it's written in the 20s, it takes a while to read. But that comes after Family Feud.
Okay. It's true. Family Feud. That's a hard one to follow.
I know.
I think it's totally uphill from here for everybody.
But it's pure. It's her pure decompress.
And I'm sure Steve Harvey's watching. I feel like
Steve,
this is coming.
she's serious.
We have a note from Steve Harvey.
Fabulous.
Bring it, Team
You found
PlumpJack.
me. We'll be there Wednesday.
No, he said, when are you available?
Wednesday on.
Oh, goodness.
Sandra.
Oh, well, I was gonna say,
Family Feud?
cook.
Chicken
Cook
for
with
you.
friends. You know, one of my favorite things is to hang out in my kitchen with friends, but it involves wine. So that's why my answer became really difficult. Then I'm gonna guess, say, grow things in the background. I love growing flowers and gardening and just walking around my old neighborhood and looking for ideas for my 130-year-old house. You know, things like that. Just being here, being in the place that I love, and being in the place that I aspired to live in, and really taking all that in.
I'm coming over.
Come over. I mean, that might sound self-helpy, but it isn't.
No, it's beautiful and it's
Thank you.
simple and authentic. So it's a perfect answer. Miss Danielle.
You stole my answer.
Oh, that's
I
why we
know.
love each
I
other.
know.
I gave you another option.
Yeah, I know. but-
Danielle, you can't say growing. You're the winemaker.
I think my calming moment is just being with my son, Blake, who's 4, that I just love watching grow and seeing him play and have fun and just being a part of him and doing arts and crafts with him. You know, he's just like, do you want to do arts and crafts, Blake? And he's like, yeah, let's paint, mommy, you know? So that just is a great way to be with him and relax too. So.
But did you mention he looks you in the eye when he says it?
He does.
He's like 4 feet tall.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he's very
I
tall.
was going
for
to
a
say
4-year-old.
enjoy those moments because when they
I-
become teenagers, they don't really.
I
wanna
know they don't
paint
want to.
with
I
you and
know.
do that
So
sort of thing.
gotta absorb it now.
Okay, I'm getting another text and I see Christine with her fingers texting me really quickly to ask this question. So someone from the audience, didn't give the name, wants to know, what is the biggest challenge you've been confronted with? And this question's for Hilary. And how did you overcome it? And it doesn't have to necessarily be, I would say, an answer about business. It could be about family. It could be about, you know, all of our lives, right? Managing a family and going to work and not having cell service in a car while your son's teacher's on the phone. So
Biggest challenges, 2. Personal, losing my mother at 57 years old. She was 57. That was crushing and sort of paralyzing. But I have this tremendous family, and my husband's family is phenomenal and large, big San Francisco families. And so there was a lot of love. But it taught me to channel that into something good, and that ended up being philanthropy. And that's something I'm super proud of. Our PlumpJack Foundation's raised over $6 million for cancer research and education. So it took something that was really very traumatic and turned it into something good. And my children have that same level of empathy and philanthropy, which I'm so proud of, as is my husband's family. And then professionally, self-confidence. And that's why I said, be confident. You know, I honestly had, you know, that transition from, you know, being the executive vice president to becoming the president of the company, sole president of the company, not co-president at the time, and looking in the mirror and saying, do I need a red suit? Do I need, what do I mean, I'm going to be found out, and it's not something uncommon. And, you know, there was a lot of people, again, that I shared earlier that propped me up. And I realized, you know, the best thing to do is to, you know, hire, surround yourself with incredible people. And I'm so blessed to have these, you know, colleagues next to me and a team of 398 other phenomenal people. So those have been my biggest obstacles and challenges in my life. And that's enough of them. I don't want any more. No more drama.
well, thank you for sharing that with us. So I see something exciting coming in our direction right now, ladies.
Right.
So another glass of wine. At what time is it? It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Thank you.
Okay, what's going on here?
Yeah. So what do we have going on here, Danielle, Sandra?
Well, it's a blind tasting.
Oh, I'm cheating off of you.
Oh no,
No cheating, ladies.
Hillary.
No cheating, girl.
So a blind tasting of a CADE wine. but we are tasked with guessing the vintage, the AVA, Napa Valley, or Howell Mountain, and if it's our Napa Valley, Estate, or Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon. So I might just describe me or throw out a few descriptors of what I'm smelling in the glass. A lot of red cherry, raspberry, a little currant, some graham cracker and clove and brown spice, the licorice, yeah. And then the palate, it's got great density and texture. It almost has a syrupy type texture to it, really rounded, and a lot of vanilla milk chocolate in the palate with a nice, great structure. Hint, hint.
Already.
I'm gonna phone a friend again.
Mm.
Danielle, it's Hilary. Need some help?
Well, the vintage is the hardest, I
Yeah.
think, to guess.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the easy part for me.
That's the easy part for you?
For sure,
Ugh,
for sure. I think I need
Um,
another sip.
yeah, take another
I might finish it
sip.
before I decide.
This is where we pause for an apology to you all if you're not.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So
Sorry,
this
sorry,
is
sorry, Liz.
I'm not
incredible.
sorry.
It
Y'all
is
had a chance to
absolutely
buy it.
incredible. And if we can come up with the smell-o-vision version of our podcast,
Can
we'll
you
get that
give me
worked
the
out.
hint again?
Great structure, velvety.
Rainfall that
Viscosity,
year
yeah,
or not a lot of rainfall that year?
Well, vintage is a tough one, even for me.
Yeah.
Come on, you guys. But I'm gonna say it was actually a pretty good rainfall year. Yes.
For the record, Toledo and Sienna, I did not cheat. I went my own path.
Can I say though that the 18 is this the 17 or the 18 reserve? No, the one that we had 17.
Just giving away the answer.
No, not this one.
Not the
blind. The 17 reserve is one of the best ones you've ever made.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, 17 was a challenging year. To be honest, we had the fires in Napa, and we picked 95% of our fruit for the Howell Mountain Cab after the fires in 2017. And that was really stressful and really kind of just intense, because not only was it the entire vintage kind of that I was trying to manage and carry and decide if, are we going to be able to make wine, or is it going to be completely ruined? But we made the decision to crush the grapes, make the wine we wanted to make. And fortunately, the fires were going the other direction. And that smoke was at the, yeah, it looked like, but that smoke kind of sat on the valley floor, and we were in the sunshine. And so, and the prevailing wind was in the right direction. And so it saved us. And so we crushed as many grapes as we could. We made the best wine that we could in a challenging year of basically kind of 2 weeks of going, oh my gosh, is the winery going to burn down, or is it, are we going to be able to keep crushing? So super excited with how it turned out, especially for a challenging year. And it was a great color year, a great tannin year, just powerhouse wines. And what we managed to accomplish, I'm really proud of. So,
well, and it speaks to these microclimates, to circle back to that.
Right.
I remember, in the South, when things go wrong, you bring food, right? So I landed and I got 20 pizzas and I put them in the back of the car. And then I saw some firemen and I was like, hey. And they were all like, no, Sandra, we're good. So I'm like, okay, onward. And I dropped off here at Odette. I dropped off some pizzas and I dropped off some at PlumpJack. And I mean, I had my mask and my eyes were water, and I just couldn't get over how smoky this valley was in 17. And then I drove up to CADE to drop pizzas off to Danielle. And I broke through what is normally that cloud, that fog line. And whatever holds the fog in, helps the smoke in. And that's the thing. People try to sum up a vintage.
Right.
You can't, because it could hail in Oakville and not in Stag's Leap District. Anyway, this is
Well,
really good
I brought
juice.
See's candy, so I must be a little Southern.
I for sure you are. You've
And it
got
was
in you.
appreciated. It was very much appreciated.
Yes.
Okay, so ladies, without further ado, we need to hold up our,
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I guess 2016, Howell Mountain Reserve.
I did the 2018. I thought maybe it was a little younger, but I don't
Okay.
know.
I went older, I guess 12, Cade Reserve.
I went 17.
Oh,
so did I, and I was not copying.
all
I
right.
did
Well,
17,
17 is what's in this class.
so we're wrong for sure.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Disadvantage, yeah.
We
All
switched
right,
our
Christy.
glasses.
Hang on, where's some white out?
Why is special? Okay.
I did put in.
2012.
Sales lady,
Sandra.
What
6
about
years
that?
behind.
I am impressed. And for anyone who has not been here for the last 2 hours with us behind the scenes, Sandra did not know
No.
because she was asking all kinds of questions and I was the witness. Danielle would not give her any hints.
Nope.
Yes.
So
So I'm gonna say why this is special. This is the first year I worked at CADE. So my first vintage with CADE.
Ah,
And I'll tell you why I thought it was 16, because I think 12 and 16 were very similar vintages, actually, as far as the growing season and the weather. But 2012 was a really great vintage, just a very even growing season, kind of on the cooler side. We had a lot of rain in 2012 as well. But that texture, that's should have known. That's what defines
I'll
that
just be keeping
vintage.
that.
Stole it.
Oh, you
Stole
wait,
it.
you mean I'm not taking that back to Sonoma?
No.
This is a marin wine now.
Listen, y'all, there's plenty to go around. Talk to me. We can work something out.
Okay, so we have one more question and Suzanne's going to ask it. Get ready, ladies.
Okay.
So in sitting and talking here as we have, I always have conjured up this visual I had when I started my career in tech. And there was this cartoon. I was reading the paper. Remember back when we read a paper?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So reading the paper and there was a cartoon and there was this ladder, corporate ladder, and there were all these women in their skirts and their high heels. And the woman at the top of the ladder had her foot out and she was pushing down the women in the ladder. And that was this moment for me. And I said, that will never happen. I will always be reaching down because, in my opinion, all ships rise in the tide. So I'm incredibly grateful to be here with all of my esteemed colleagues today in Women's History Month and supporting women. And so my question in our last couple of minutes together is, what are you each doing to empower, to reach down and bring up another woman in whatever industry, in whatever way, in whatever capacity? How are you helping to empower other women?
Okay, well, I'm happy to start. Well, I'm starting with my two daughters. They're 16 and 17. And as far as I'm concerned, my husband and I have done, I'm biased, but a marvelous job raising really good citizens. And I'm so proud of them. Please know that, girls. But also, I'm fortunate enough to be part of a lot of the hiring process at PlumpJack. It's not a hierarchical company. It's really much more, democratic, and not to be political, but it's very, that's just how we're more family. And so for me to make sure that these incredible team members beside me and so many others, know their place at the table and feel proud and empowered and strong and that we have each other's back is really important to me. So the interesting thing too is my philanthropy, as I shared early on, was really focused on cancer research and education for personal reasons. But my sister-in-law, Jen Siebel-Newsom, has Misrepresentation, the Representation Project. And she really introduced me to this whole new world, because again, I was raised knowing that I could do anything I wanted to do. And she really introduced me to the disparity that's out there in so many different venues. And so really, I became much more passionate about making sure that I held my hand out. So.
I've been trying to be guest lecturers at UC Davis for the new students in the viticulture and enology class, because for me, when I was at school, I wanted to see people like me, I guess. And we always had a lot of male guest lecturers. And I think it's important to show that, yes, women are in these roles, and that, kind of my path and how I got there, and share that with other women. And I also tried to, for Harvest, bring in female interns. So again, to work side by side with me and just, kind of like, hey, you can do this because I'm doing it too. And if you, need help, I'm here to help you.
So I'm
So
gonna
now you
I'm
stand
gonna
there.
actually jump in because we're starting to run out of time. But I do want to just read one more note that we just received from somebody watching us from New Jersey, Kim Silberman, and she wants me to tell you that she is sitting there drinking her CADE, which she loves, and she visits Napa every single year. And she says that this is incredibly inspiring, and she loves the way women are supporting women. And she will be back here soon as she is fully vaccinated and she can get back on a plane. So Kim, we welcome you back in Sonoma and in Napa. And so I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. And this has been actually a lot of fun. We really enjoyed being here and certainly meeting all three of you. And I am going to actually turn this over to Sandra to tell us if there's anything happening or anything going on that anybody should know about.
Yeah, there's always something happening here. in Napa Valley. First of all, Kim, right? We don't get to do this without you. So
Thank you.
everything that Danielle does, everything that we do on the market is to get the wine to you, and thanks for enjoying it. We won't let you down, right? We have a couple more events coming up. One is on April 9th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to taste the estate collection of PlumpJack, CADE, and Odette with the winemakers. You do have to join us in this by bringing the wines to your house so that you can understand what we're talking about, right? Right, Danielle?
Yes.
Yes.
I've been banging myself.
Yeah.
And at the end of April, on April 23rd, the day after Earth Day at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to speak with the architect who designed, conceptualized CADE, which was the first LEED Gold winery in California. It was a crazy notion to take this urban idea and throw it on the side of a mountain in the country, but Juan Carlos did it anyway. So we're excited to be sharing that with you guys. So join us. Thanks for being here with us today. Thanks for being such incredible hostesses.
What a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Supporting women and Women's History Month.
Absolutely.
Best job in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, cheers. Cheers, Sandra.